Here we are again. Welcome to the Talent Talks podcast, where I get to spend time with people I find curious. When I want to have real, raw, in-depth conversations, go a little bit deeper, maybe peel back some things where they're not ready to go there. It's a bit of therapy. I am sitting here with Grant, my good friend, and we let him tell his story a little bit here, but I'll poke around. Welcome, Grant.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So good to have you here. It is snowy outside. We're sitting here in Illinois. You live actually quite close.
Real close. I used to live in Geneva, so anytime I come back to Geneva, there's always a wonderful experience.
Feels reminiscent.
It does. You cannot beat 3rd Street.
Are you? That's true.
It even rhymes.
It is a beautiful little neighborhood.
Yes.
Which I moved here from California.
I know, from San Diego.
Big shift in weather.
Yeah, it's -1 here today, I think. And
it is.
What's it in San Diego?
It is probably 60, 70 degrees.
Yes.
That's normal.
And you're so glad you moved back.
So I want to hear a little bit of your story. I've discovered something today.
What have you discovered?
When people talk about their better half, like yours is like way better.
100%. People say you must be a very good salesman, Grant, because this does not add up.
So
yes.
Okay, let's just start there.
Sure.
You are married. How long have you been married?
10 years last year, so it'll be 11 years this year in September.
That's good math.
Thank you. So. Engineer, baby.
And you married Mrs.
Well, at the time, she wasn't Mrs.
Well, yeah, it's true.
She was just Miss at the time.
She was Miss. And what was the big sort of famous part after her name? Miss
America.
Miss America?
So Miss Indiana was her title in 2007. And then when we got married, she decided to go back and try to win because she was first runner-up Miss America in 2008. And then she became Mrs. America in 2018. So...
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yes. Obviously talented in sales.
You have definitely talented in sales.
Yes. I have some sales skills.
You're a handsome guy.
Well, thank you. Your glasses aren't working, and I hope that seems to be water, but we're not sure.
It's definitely water.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So what's her talent?
She is probably one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I can look at you not even blinking, just like dead on. She's a fantastic singer. In fact, when she gave up her title... Have you seen the new Elvis movie yet? Have you seen that movie with Austin Butler? Yeah. The home theater that they kind of made for Elvis is now at the Westgate Hotel in Los Angeles or Las Vegas, and she was asked to perform on that stage. And when she gave up her title, just her. So it's her on this huge stage, and she sang Shania Twain, "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and she crushed it. The hat, the whole the whole thing. And so what we didn't know is she was pregnant at the time with our daughter Cadence. So I said, when we found out Cadence was, to be born, I said, well, I have the perfect name for our daughter. We have to name her Shania. We need to name her Shania. And needless to say, the whole family said no.
So Cadence was it.
Cadence was it.
I've never heard of anyone called Cadence. Named Cadence.
It's a rhythm, like a rhythm.
I understand. Yeah. It's beautiful.
We got the 3 C's: Carter, Cooper, and Cadence.
That's awesome.
So, and the cooks. So it just stayed with the C's. Yeah. But yes.
Anyone go by CC?
Not yet. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But the 3 C's, I think, is a cool ring. So
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're married for coming on 11 years.
That's right.
You're married to a
Outkick my coverage.
Very, very talented person. Also very beautiful.
I agree.
I'm assuming.
I agree. Oh, yes, sir.
Actually, I did see a picture.
Yeah.
So, what do you do day to day? What keeps you? I mean, you're sitting here on the podcast today. I'm assuming you don't travel around just being on people's podcasts.
No.
Because we talk about leadership.
Yes, sir.
Leadership and people and talent and development and a little bit of rawness as well. So, what do you do?
So I have the privilege of leading our group. We're called Enpro Incorporated.
Yep.
We're an industrial manufacturer and distributor, which means we help people make things. So our mission statement as a company is a relentless ally for American manufacturing. And that means you want to keep manufacturing in this country and specifically in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So our job every day is to go out and help the communities and the people that we all work next to and serve in, live in, have same schools, go to church with. We want to keep that facility, that manufacturing facility in the United States and globally competitive, because if that goes to Canada, China, or another country, that community loses something. Yeah. And our job is to invest and help that community and that manufacturers specifically be more efficient so they can stay there and continue to make products and continue to employ people and make that community better.
Wow.
So that's what we do every day.
And how long's the company been around?
Since 1961.
Whoa.
So we're technically a third generation family owned organization, which technically I think has a 90% failure rate, family owned businesses. So I look at that as a 10% opportunity rate.
There you go. There you go. Now, okay. I've heard that stat, like, especially when you hit third generation.
Correct.
If it was going to fail, what would the reason be?
I think the reason forever in any organization that a company fails is a culture changes. And the passion and the drive and the why, I know you're a Simon Sinek fan, starts to leave. And it becomes about, it gets flipped, right? You talk about the people, the process, and then the profits, correct?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've read, there's a really great book I've read lately. You should check it out sometime. But
Right seats, right people?
Exactly. Have you read it before? It's very good.
It's a good one.
But I think when you invert that and you start worrying about, hey, all I'm focusing on is the bottom line, you start to really lose that sense of why and what you're doing. That can really change, and you can feel that, and all the talent and all the wonderful people you have in your organization start to fragment, and then you lose your way. And for us, we're a distributor and a rep, so we bring value add. We do value added things for manufacturing, but we don't actually manufacture anything.
Right.
So if my principals, what we call principals or manufacturers, could see that change was happening in us, and that it would just erode, and then would quickly erode. And then and they would start to just jettison and leave. So our hope and prayer really is to say, hey, would they continue to see the light, that we stay on mission, and we don't lose that fire, and we don't lose that sense of, service to the organizations and companies that we sell for and to.
So I would imagine that gets challenged at times, right? We're like, oh my gosh, are we losing our way here? Are we,
Yeah, because we're in the middle.
Right. Yeah. When you look back, how long are you leading the company? I started
with the organization when I was 8 years old, and then I got on the payroll when I was 28 years old, and then I started in my role as president in January of 2022.
That's a long time of like child labor.
Yes,
and you weren't getting any pay.
That's not true. My father would take us to the warehouse in the office when we were very young, and we would build shelves, put literature together, shred paper, do things, and he would say, "Hey, do you want to eat dinner tonight?" And we're like, "Yes." He's like, "Well, then come to the office." Right. And so we would get the privilege of living in our home, right, and eating dinner. And then occasionally when we got a little older, we would go to this place called Galaxy World on Route 64 in Carroll Stream. And we would get, a couple, dollars worth of tokens back when you had tokens that you had to put into video games.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like, man, we are living.
This is good.
Yeah, we are living, man. So it was fun.
What qualified you? No, so you have siblings?
I do. Thank you for asking. My brother was a Marine, so thank you for everyone that's listening that served in our great country. And then my sister is in Fort Worth, about to have her first baby. So in Texas, got the Texas connection.
Did any of them want to have the role of president and leading the company?
No, we have a lot of criteria actually in our organization, Jonathan, to be a part of the organization. So we're all, I'm a mechanical engineer from UT, so hook 'em horns.
Okay.
And to be a part of our organization, you have to, like everybody else, go and interview.
Yep.
You have to have a degree that makes sense. You can't have, hey, I've majored in basket weaving and I want to be at Enpro in industrial process control equipment.
Yeah.
So it has to be relevant. And then you have to work for someone not named Cook. So not my father or my uncle. You can't work for them. You have to work for someone not named Cook for 3 years. And then after that, then you can decide if how you're going to fit in the organization. So so we've kind of have, because we've had, my grandfather started the company in 1961. He bought it when it was J.R. Simpson Associates. He was a German immigrant.
Yep.
And his father passed away very young. His mom said, hey, you got to help take care of me a little more. Started selling for J.R. Simpson. They ended up forming engineered products. We sell engineered products. Let's call it Enpro. And then they kind of continued to grow. And the reason we've been successful is our people. But then he died in 1989. All of a sudden, 61 years old, boom. So my father took over the business at 31. And most, I think, family companies that don't experience that kind of loss and just upheaval early on, they tend to fade or fall apart because they don't understand transitions. Right. And we had to learn that early on. Yeah. So I think we baked in a lot of that protection over the years because we saw how disruptive that was for us in the early 90s, really.
Yeah. Did the criteria that you just mentioned for being in the family company. Was that established by your dad or your grandfather?
That was established by my father, my uncle, and I, actually.
Okay.
So I had to be in the organization much longer to be eligible to even buy in.
Right.
So I was kind of the guinea pig, but I'm the oldest anyway. So I was familiar with that territory.
Okay.
And so we kind of formed it around that. But yeah, if my other cousins ever wanted to be a part of it, it would be, hey, here's kind of the roadmap. But my brother, to answer your question in the long way, my brother and my sister have said, hey, carry on the flag. This is important for all the families that have made Enpro successful. We're proud of you and kick butt. Go get it.
Wow. Okay. So no kind of envy issues or anything like that in the family?
No, because I was never going to join the family business, because if you work with family at all, and you've had a lot of family members of family businesses on these, and they work with at Titus, is you risk that relationship when you work with someone in your family. And I have a great relationship with my father.
Yeah.
And so I worked at a nuclear power company. I worked for Exelon right out of school. And I was never going to work for the family business because you risk that relationship. And I said, hey, look, when an opportunity came up, I had met Nicole, my wife, when she was Miss Indiana, not yet Miss America, and Mrs. America. And so we said, hey, look, there's an opportunity. I had patented a process for the beverage industry. I was going to go work for another one of our manufacturers in North Texas. And I love Texas. I went to UT Austin. Yeah. So he said, hey, we have this position open. Enpro does in North Texas. Would you ever consider working with the family? And I'm like, I don't want anything to jeopardize our relationship. Yeah. So he goes, come to Chicago. We'll talk about it. We sat up here, like two men, no microphones, and sat and talked about it for a long period of time and prayed about it a lot. And then at the end of it was like, hey, this is the right thing. Let's go. So I told the other manufacturer no, and I joined. That was 2011. So I joined the company, and it's been a great experience since. But I was never going to ever work for the family organization.
When you look back, do you have any regrets?
No, I feel like I didn't need to do all the dumb stuff I did when I was a young field sales engineer in Los Angeles. I was engaged right out of school, broke that off, and kind of followed my own path. But so I also lived in California. Yeah. I lived in West Hollywood, the thick of the crazy. Wow. And it was wowzer. It was a little crazy, but I was really kind of just trying to fill that, God-shaped hole really in my life by pouring everything the world had to offer in it, and it wasn't doing it. Yeah. So as it doesn't. Yeah. And so I made a lot of dumb decisions there that I wish I could have, not had made. So I look back and like, oh man, but it really has taught me and shown me like I can sit with my family. We live in Wayne, Illinois, not too far away. Okay. Yeah. And I can sit there and be like, hey, this is what it's all about, not the parties or the stuff or any of that other thing. So
that's interesting. So looking at your time of actually leading the company, so is your dad involved, or is he?
Yes, he's chairman of the board for us now. Correct,
but not in the day-to-day.
Not in the day-to-day.
Okay, so that's I would imagine there's some like nerve-wracking taking the family business over, leading it on the day-to-day, wanting to please your dad, who you've got a great relationship with, but also be you. Yep, because you're not your dad.
Correct.
What are there any things that you look back and think, man, this is a lesson I've learned, and it was a great lesson. I would definitely have done that differently now, as you look back on the last 5 years or so?
I think, and that is a great question. I think the ones that stick out for me the most are the ones that he kind of learned battle scars along the way. That for me, I'm learning in the process. Yeah. So there's a reason that he's very intentional and very deliberate and very detailed about the processes and the procedures that we have in our organization. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, hey, we'll to quote you, we'll R&D it in real time. Yeah. And so those type of R&D moments have sometimes been like, wow, this was totally a direction we didn't need to go. And in hindsight, if I just slowed down and maybe more proceduralized it, we would have stayed on mission more. And so I think there's that, like I think in anyone taking over a role for the first time and kind of trying to fill the shoes that are impossible to fill, so you have to do it your way, like you said. You are really trying to just almost like operating at 130%. And when you're in that kind of fever pitch pace, there's times when you're just like, man, that was a miss. Yeah. Like that was kind of an expensive miss, and that's not going to help us get to where we need to go. Right. So I think it was just that zealous of like that enthusiasm. Yeah. Not really following the details sometimes when I need to, and really digging into those that he kind of learned over time. Yeah. Yeah.
You talked about transitions of leadership that are precarious times, and how companies can often fail in that point. Have you, has anyone left the organization due to your leadership?
Great question. So no, which is great.
Sure?
Yes. So
Because there's somebody outside the door. No, I'm
yes.
like,
Yeah.
come on in.
Yeah, come on in.
It's
Yeah,
like Jerry
come on
Springer.
down. I know. But for us, we've been really fortunate. We had that kind of it was a telegraphed pass, right? It was not a shock what was happening, right? We were slowly staging it, so it wasn't like it was like one day Brian was president and then the next day it was Grant.
Yeah.
So it was very much like, hey, we're building for the future, because as you and Titus, you work with a lot of family-owned companies.
Yeah.
This is typically what happens. They unravel around this point.
Right.
And there's not a clear transition. So the talent says, I don't have maybe a future here. Things don't look as bright as I thought they would.
Yeah.
I'm going to go somewhere else. And that start to jettison as that transition is happening. So for us, we didn't really have a lot of that attrition.
Yeah.
Because they said, hey, look, we're going to keep our core values. We're going to stay on mission. And all we're doing is just propelling us for the next 30 years. Because in our space, in the industrial manufacturing space in Chicago, in and around the Midwest, private equity has just been buying up distributors like Enpro.
Right.
Large private equity firms. And that changes a culture.
Totally.
In a big way, because it's not about the people as much. It's about EBITDA.
So, lots of things here to unpack. There, questions I have intrigue. Is Enpro for sale?
No. I mean, it depends. It depends if Jonathan's asking or not.
No, I am asking.
Yeah.
I'm now a broker. So
Yeah.
Is that, you can say no, you don't want to talk about it. It's fine.
Oh, it was fine with me.
But being third generation, is there a sense of like, I have to raise up the next generation to take this on, or would it be approved to sell the organization in the family?
So, well, you kind of ask two questions there. So the first question is, I feel an obligation wholeheartedly. I feel like I work for everybody else at Enpro, and having grown up in and around the business, I also know the families really, really well. Yeah. And I have that sense of like, Simon, I love Simon Sinek too. I'm not in charge. They're in my charge.
Yeah.
So I have that sense of that moral obligation.
Yes.
And so for me, to really think about when we get to the point where we're at the level where I don't feel comfortable. And this may be a good question for you, Titus, right? So let me answer that and then I'll ask you a question. That's okay. The answering is, when we get to the point where I don't feel comfortable steering the ship anymore, I'm okay. I don't have to steer the ship. Yeah. It's bigger than a cook running the organization. Yeah. It needs to be what's best for the organization.
Yes. Okay.
Regardless of the last name.
Yeah.
So I think for you guys at Titus, when there's going to be a point, because you guys are doing a wonderful job, to which why I'm here, is when you get to the point at Titus, when you feel like, it's grown beyond me. It's grown beyond me. Yeah. Do you have that question ever, where you feel like, oh yeah, because you follow kind of the EOS, right? Totally. Yeah. CEO, president, visionary, integrator model. Yep. How do you wrestle with that, or come to terms with it?
Yeah. Good question. Obviously a little bit. It's kind of always a vulnerable topic, because I don't know the answer.
Right, I don't either.
And so I get asked this question by different business mentors, like, "Hey, what's your exit strategy?" And I don't have one. And they're like, "Well, that's not very strategic, is it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. Why am I doing this?"
Yeah.
But I've been taught that you always build to sell.
Okay.
Because if you build in that way, you'll be a lot more secure and stable. Like, so you're thinking about, okay, all of my structures in place and all of my organization, is it in a healthy place?
Correct. That's well said.
Like, I want it to be healthy. And so it would be attractive for a buyer. Right. Even though there's no intention of selling. Right. So I'm really, really thankful for my business partner, Scott, who's the president. He's a CPA, he's a former CFO and a former founder president himself, and has bought and sold companies. And he is wiser than me, more mature than me. He's got years on me, and he's been an amazing mentor for me, and brings so much stability to the company. Okay. So I'm really thankful for team. I'm not a solo person going, what am I doing? So I talk about these things. I'm like, hey, at some point Scott's going to retire. Like, what's that look like? You know, I need to start thinking. And he's really helpful for me. Going, hey, it's almost like it's like I'm not going to be here, son. You know,
Yes.
I'm not always. I'm like, okay, Dad. You know, I can feel a little bit like that. Like, what do I do? How will I do this without you? You know, but at some point, I have to think and plan for those things, or at least start discussing them and figuring out what we do and what's going on. And I've looked at, I think similar to you, because we have so many of our team members who've been there for years since the beginning.
Right.
We're a people-first organization. I'm like, hey, I know their spouses or their family members and their kids. I've been there when they've had children, they've lost children. I've been there. I've sat with them, cried with them. Like, it's tough, you know?
Yeah.
We've gone through a journey together, and I deeply, deeply care. So someone goes, hey, if I offered you X with this, you're like, yeah, awesome, cool. What am I going to do? Whoa, hold on a second. We're talking about people here.
Right.
And I've told them that they come first.
Yep.
I've also told them that we always have to be profitable because otherwise we don't have people.
Right.
So they understand there's the connection between people, partners, or our customers, and the profits. Like, they're very, very closely connected. The big question, I'm not dodging it. Kind of what's the strategy, or what's the future, or the vision for the future of the organization? Well, I want to keep growing. I care about growth because I think. Historically, I'm like, wow, I'm going crazy. Just go really, really fast. I'm not as worried about the speed of growth, the healthy growth, but I don't want to ever sit stagnant. And so, that was a very, very long-winded, without answering the question. I don't have a plan.
Okay, that's okay. And I think the coolest part is anybody. You're a member of Vistage as well.
Yep.
And that's been a great organization for me. I think anybody that sits there and tells you that they have a 5 or 10 year business plan, I don't know how fully baked that is, because life changes a lot in 1 year, let alone 5 years. So, I mean, if you rewind the clock 3 years ago for you, it looks very different than it does today.
Yeah, I would have told you we've always hit off our numbers.
Okay.
Which is great.
You're kind of like annual goals or?
Annual goals, 3-year picture. We've never missed.
Oh, wow.
Goals.
Congratulations. I didn't know that.
And we set budget at 20%.
Okay.
Increase.
Wow. Double-digit growth. That's intense. Yeah, that's intense.
So budget is always set 20% higher than how we ended the previous year, and that's runs through the whole organization. Everyone knows that growth is part of our DNA.
Okay.
We have one of our statements. We have a wholehearted commitment to uncomfortable growth.
Oh, nice.
Growing pain is a part of our DNA.
Yeah.
And so there's always that sense of like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And we're like, yep, we like it. We don't want comfortable here. We try and repel people who wouldn't enjoy that.
Okay.
Like, so people talk about talent attraction. How do we attract talent?
Yeah.
Also, how do we repel the wrong people? Because
well said.
I do not want to give some allure to somebody about this organization, which I think is an awesome company to work for.
Right.
Great people, value driven, all this kind of, but it's not for everyone. It would be, people would love a lot of those things, but we have to be really clear about growth and trajectory and the lack of. We are not a stable organization. Like, you're like, wait, we're not stable? Like, in the sense of safe, secure, not moving, immovable. We're moving somewhere, and we're always adding, and we're always growing, and we're always 67% of our team joined us in the last 2 years.
67%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So one of the things that I'm focusing on right now is I realize there are lots of rhythms and rituals in our organization that are very obvious to me why we do them.
Okay.
And they're obvious to the people who are with us 5 to 10 years ago.
Okay.
They are not obvious to the people who've just joined us in the last 2.
What would be a ritual, an example of a ritual not obvious to someone?
Good one.
48 months in.
So, connection.
Okay.
Connection is something that we are very intentional about. The relational piece of connection of, like you talk about, hey, I know their families.
Yeah.
There are a lot of organizations kind of like, whoa. Work, life, separate. I'm here to work. Clock,
Church
clock
and
out,
state.
boom, boom. Yeah, like we don't
proper
go there.
Proper
we don't
way.
go there. And I'm like, no, I really want to.
Very Churchill of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
I really care. So tell me the story there. Like, what's going on? Like, how are you dealing with the grief and loss of your child? Like, that really must affect you. Like, I care. And I don't care just to like say that we asked. I really deeply care. How do we adjust, and how do we support you?
Okay. That type of connection.
That would be an intentional connection.
Okay.
That we talk about connection a lot.
Okay.
We talk about highs and lows in your personal life and how it impacts you.
During your level 10 or
During level 10, during same page one-on-one meetings, whatever.
Okay.
Really important. So I'm taking the next 2 years, and I've got about 26 rhythms and rituals that we have in our company.
specifically identified?
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
And these are rhythms and rituals that we don't say, here are rhythms and rituals.
Right, yes.
I said to a couple of people in the organization, I said, hey, can you go through our manifesto? Can you go through kind of that's our employee handbook? Can you go through anything that you think of from your observations? And what would you say are unique DNA type things that we have? Because I'm so ingrained in it, I wouldn't even know that it was unique.
Right.
It's just normal.
Yeah, because you're right here with the
I'm
painting.
Like, oh, okay, what is that? And then I'm taking basically every month, I'm going to unpack that piece.
That unique piece.
That unique piece and why we do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So last month it was connection.
Okay.
Like the why we are intentional about connection, and why do we ask in front of the whole company, what's something going. So one of our huddles, one of our rhythms and rituals is the company huddle every Friday 9 a.m. Central.
Okay.
It's a 1 hour together and everyone's expected to be there.
Everybody, the whole
Video's
company.
on. Yeah, we're 100% remote, so video's on, and everybody speaks.
Wow.
Like what? How do you have 200 people and everyone
How
speaks?
could everyone sound off? Like here, here, here. How does everyone speak?
No, I will ask a question.
Okay.
And everybody will answer it.
Wow.
And I'll just call on people.
That's cool.
So one week of the month, it is personal life updates.
Oh, cool.
What's going on in your life personally, non-work related, high or low?
Okay.
As vulnerable as you want to be, or as shallow as you want to be. It's we're not saying, God, that's not deep enough.
No one's going to put you on blast.
No.
Yeah.
But we'll have people who are literally like, hey, I'm going through a really rough situation right now with my kid. Or with somebody who like, hey, it was like really raw. Someone's like, hey, I just had a miscarriage. And it was really, really painful. And you're like, oh my gosh. And people are crying. And then somebody else is like, I'm going to Six Flags Great America this weekend. And you're like, oh, wow, that's a crazy roller coaster of emotions right now.
Yes.
Like, how do we process, like, how do we deal with the time? Like, but what it does is there's follow-up. People are like, wow, I'm here for you. What can I do for you?
Right.
And it's not like a corporate, like, flowers in the mail and a card in the mail that's printed out. Like, it just
stamp signature.
Yeah, it's actually real and raw. And to many, that is like uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
They're like, whoa, I just arrived here at this company. And like, how the heck?
Someone's crying.
Someone's crying in front of the whole company. Yeah. Like, that's uncomfortable. So then I would explain, like, hey, we do genuinely care about you.
Yeah.
So if you're overwhelmed by this, it's a part of our intentionality. Another one would be, when you first arrive on the company, the very first week, you're going to introduce yourself to the whole company on the huddle that week.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
You're like, even like an intern or an associate. Yeah, it's really important. And so we're intentional about it. And one of the things I'm intentional about is, how did you join us, and why did you join us?
Yes. Who recruited you to Titus?
Like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Like, what's your story?
Yeah.
And people go, oh, this context of this person. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really interesting.
Is it mostly through referrals? Is that why?
Yeah, we're at 55-60% of our company are referrals.
Wow.
So there's a nice story there. And even if it wasn't a referral story, they were headhunted by our internal recruiter, because we don't hire people who apply, generally speaking. Okay. Sometimes.
We won't tell.
Very, very rarely.
Edit this part out.
No, it's
I'm just kidding.
But interestingly enough, like that, we make it hard to apply to come to Titus, because I don't want to pay somebody to field
applications. Right.
I would much rather go and headhunt.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, that's what we do for our clients.
Do you have an internal referral program?
Yeah.
Like a bonus if someone brings someone in?
Totally, yeah.
Good.
Bonus and experiences. So we try to make customized experiences.
And you just recently had this, I think, for your last week, correct?
That was
2 weeks
awards trip.
The awards trip, okay. And
Yeah,
that's for your
it.
top performers?
Top performers and their significant other.
Okay, very good.
So I used to say spouses, but I'm not allowed to say that.
Yeah. Significant other.
So yeah, creating this kind of dynamic of explaining. So one of the reasons, I'll tell you why we have the interns or anyone who's joined the company.
Yeah.
Why did you come here?
Right.
Tell us the experience and how's it been in the first week. What it does, and we've actually seen people who are almost teetering leaving the company.
Okay.
Remember why they came.
Oh, cool.
And they're like, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
I often talk about how people can make more money going somewhere else. I'll talk about it in front of the whole company. I mean, most of you could probably respond to an ad, and you could probably make more money somewhere else.
Yeah,
like, and that's okay. I spoke this morning about the journeys that we're on. Like, we're on a bus journey, and my end destination may be very different than yours, and that's okay.
That's okay.
We'll prepare you for what's next, and we hope it's with us.
Right.
So we just talk a lot about those kind of like what our value systems, not necessarily our core values, but the things that are important to us, and refreshing people all the time. And so I realized that with 67% of the company being there in the last 2 years only, I'm like, oh, they don't know why we do a lot of things. And if they understand why, it'll become more meaningful for them. So anyway, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In every close relationship, there's always a constant and a variable. Which one are you?
Stetson gave you that, didn't he?
He did.
Yes, that's perfect. I'm the variable, much like Stetson would be. And thank you, Stetson, for the question. But I'm definitely the variable. I'm if you Wilson Learning Social Styles Handbook, right?
No, I don't know.
Predictive index.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Maverick, and you're a Maverick as well, I believe.
Something like that. Maverick, Captain. I don't know.
Yeah. Say so. But what that means is I'm expressive, and so I'm much like you, right? Heart on the sleeve. You know what I'm thinking. I'm not subtle, right? I'm about as subtle as a sledgehammer, right? So, hey, I'm just, we're doing great or we're not doing great, right? It's like we're a 1 or a 0.
Yep.
And so my wonderful wife is the one who's like, okay, we don't need to go, 1,000 miles an hour right now. We just need to get there, right? So, but she's like, she says, I help bring a lot of joy into our family, a lot of energy, but also I can also pull a lot of joy and bring it, right, and cause a lot of fun, right? So it's that I'm definitely more the variable in that sense.
So all right,
good job. Thanks for your cheeky question.
What's her name again?
Nicole.
All right. So Nicole is she always Miss? Do you lose it? Or are you always Mrs. America?
Well, I think what she would tell you if she was sitting here, and she'd be a wonderful candidate for you to interview because she's way more fun to talk to and look at than me. But she is an ambivert, so she's an introverted extrovert, and she's had to learn to be that. So she's from a very small town in Indiana, and she kind of pageants was a way to kind of not get out, but change her course right over the future, and it was a great thing for her. It gave her some confidence, and when she's on stage with the crown and the sash, she can kind of be that almost like superhero version of herself.
Yeah,
and she can use this crown and the sash to kind of do more good than maybe she felt like she was worthy of doing herself. So she will volunteer for things or chair things or jump out there and do things that maybe Nicole, as the normal civilian, sans the crown and sash, would do. Maybe similar to maybe people who are in the military that feel like if I put on the uniform, I can do things that I wouldn't just do myself.
You get on the plane faster than the rest of us.
Exactly. Well, that, but really not even just the plane side. Just that level of like I'll go out of my way to serve or do something that maybe a normal person would like. Otherwise, she undervalues herself, I think, without that. In a little bit.
Quick question then: are you Mr. America?
I don't know if that title applies, but
do you go around flaunting it? You do, don't you? You're like, I am Mr. America.
No, I have some PJs that say that. That she gave me. I have some jammies that say that.
That's good. All right. So what would be, you've talked about in your private or personal world at home, you can bring a lot of joy, but you can also kind of suck the joy out of the room.
Yes, I can.
When you're a 1 or a 0, you will like sap that energy because nobody should be having fun right now. Okay. I've never experienced that side of you. What does that actually look like? What brings you to that 0, and how does that show up at home?
That's a great question. That I think would.
When was the last time you were accused of being a killjoy at home?
I think as you know, when you're a leader, you're constantly trying to pour into others, and some days that cup is almost all the way gone.
Yep.
And your most important hours. I have 3 little kids, 7, 5, and 2.
Wow. Okay.
So your most important hours as a dad are between typically when you come home to when the kids go to bed.
Yep.
And that's also the hardest time.
Yeah.
It's post dinner, the bedtime routine. And there's times when I can just, we say, Nicole, my wife has helped me with the verbiage. When my patience is getting the size of a pea, it's good to vocalize that, not just boom.
Yep.
And so I'm a passionate person. So that when I let that fire out of the fireplace, in the context of
Yep.
this is something that can warm our home. I can be a light for our family. And when I let her just in the field, we're just going to, I'll pop off. My temper tends, kind of pop off and, maybe definitely get a little bit, hey, blah, 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 just go to bed, that kind of thing. And I'm like, that's not helping the situation.
What does Nicole say to you in those moments?
Typically, the look is all I need. The look.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, the look is all she needs to say. And then there's sometimes when it's
Actually, I know the look, but I'm such an antagonist. I'm like, what's that look?
Oh, yes. No. Teresa's like, no, come on.
You know
there
exactly
it is. This is the look.
what you're doing. And
Exactly.
I'm like,
What do you mean? Well, the look starts, and then if there's times, she's helped me, and she's been a great coach for me. Is she's like, hey, tag out. Like, I can tell you're flooded.
Yeah.
We're not going to get, we're at 0 level right now. You're not going to get to a 1. Take a breath, go downstairs, play some guitar, play some piano, play some drums, do something musical to change your brain.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, ma'am. So I'll usually walk downstairs or do something different where it's kind of, and then I can kind of process.
Yeah.
Right. And versus
Do you come back up, or are you like,
no, I typically come back up, and if I've been kind of a little bit mean or said, things said a little bit too loudly or been too harsh, I'll usually I don't want the kids to ever go to sleep with me with an edge, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like on an edge. So I'll even if I got to wake them up, I'll hug them and say, hey, Carter, man, Cooper or Cadence, I'm really sorry. Daddy was having kind of a hard day, and I apologize.
And how do they respond?
Typically, it's always, I love you, Daddy. I mean, kids are awesome for that.
Yeah.
Childlike faith, right? It's just like, I love you, Daddy, no problem.
Oh,
now, but I have little ones now. See, little kids, little problems. So right now, it's they're right. I know.
Get ready.
I know. So right now, it's hey, they love you, Daddy, and that kind of thing. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. But I need to learn how to control that fire, like really the fireplace metaphor. I think is probably the best.
No, that's good. That's good. What's the biggest conflict in your personal world?
I think really just my own. I think insecurities or anxieties about where we could go and do things, or I tend to be, we shouldn't do that because I'm not sure. She's like, no, come on, we're gonna do it. Get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Because I get in that, in that track a little bit of I'm a person of routine. Yeah. And so when I get out of, if it's too removed from my real routine, my little safety world, she helps me just like crazy, like truly better half. Okay. Not just in all the things, the accoutrements, but it's really in just her heart and her hey, this is what we're gonna do. Yeah. You're gonna be okay. Yeah. And it's gonna be great. Do you a worrier? Oh yes, for sure. Do you worry more about things or money, or what do you? Provision? I think it's more of a circumstantial, if we go to this, then this could happen, so we shouldn't go to that. Right? Okay. Kind of transitive worry. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, so we shouldn't do it. A vacation somewhere? Yeah. So, like Mexico. Oh, okay. I'll be like, oh, we shouldn't go to Mexico, or we shouldn't go to certain parts of these places because these things could happen. All right, I like this. So, because, I like going to Mexico. I know, and you're brave. And I guess I'm a chicken when it comes to that stuff. Because so if I said, hey, I'd love you and Nicole to come to Mexico and we'll build a house together, would you typically make up another reason why you can't? I would tell you directly that I would probably have fear of putting my family in danger if I went there. And I wouldn't tell you another reason. I would be straight up. I'm busy. Yeah. No, I wouldn't say I'm busy. I'd say that would make me uncomfortable. Okay. And then I'm learning about boundaries. No, there's no such thing for me. Okay. So as I kick your leg. But hey, that's my personal space. I know. Sorry. But would you appreciate me articulating why it will be okay? Yes. I would be more inclined to go. Okay. So you can be persuaded? Yes. Okay. And you like being persuaded? Yes. Do you like it when somebody else is leading? Yes, 100%. I love when I see someone who's a strong leader, passionate about what they're doing. Okay. And I try to encourage that. The more we can make leaders in our organization to really truly lead, it's like a totally, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, so is Nicole more of the pioneer than you, risk taker? Yes. Okay. She lived in Bolivia for a year and a half when she was 18. Okay, cool. I don't even know where that is. South America, where they literally overthrew the government while she was living there.
She did. She's
Yeah,
like,
she
"Let's go,
could have.
baby."
She could have. Yeah.
She put her crown on a
Yeah.
wand.
Ding. Scepter. You know.
Okay, so, okay, what would you be actually nervous about? We're going to Mexico if we go and build a house together?
So, like the cartel, I'd be worried about. Like, okay, in my brain,
Yeah.
right, all the things. Oh, we get off the plane, stuff's robbed, we're bathtub, organs missing, the whole thing. Literally, that's where my brain. I guess
Would
I go
you
to worst
rather
case.
go to Cancun and go to a resort than?
Even then, I think I may have anxiety about it.
Okay, we're going to come back to this a bit. But, okay, so
I mean, we're talking. We're in the thing. We're in the podcast. We're in the tree. In the trust. The trust tree.
This is good. We're doing all right.
Are we doing okay on time?
We're doing okay. We got a lunch appointment. You and me are going to eat some steak.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so this is helpful for me because I have 100 and I don't know, close to 200 salaried team members, and
Okay.
one of the things we do is once every few years we're going to take the whole company down to Mexico. We're going to build some homes together.
That's cool.
And we say, if you don't want to go, that's not what we hired you to do. So feel free to, for no reason. You don't even have to tell us the reason. You don't want to go, you don't have to go. It's fine. And some people will, like you, like, I'm a little bit scared. Let's not do this. So we try and eliminate all of those, or expose all of those fears so that they can.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone to have a regret on missing out.
No, of course.
So
Do you need to go? So let me ask a question. Maybe your team won't ask you.
yeah, go ahead.
Is that really the place of most need? You have a group of 180, 170, 100,
Yeah.
200 people
Yeah.
who are talented, skilled, passionate people.
Yeah.
Where's the most good they could do? Is it building homes in Mexico?
No, I think it's like any time you go and do some kind of a trip, it's doing just as much, if not more, for you than it is other people.
Of course.
So
that I'm just saying, why Mexico? Why not go to?
great. Would you rather go to the south side of Chicago?
I would rather go to the south side of Chicago, personally.
Okay.
But that's because I grew up in Chicago. So some of those unknowns. Anytime you have fear,
Skid Row, LA.
Skid Row, LA,
They got some serious need.
they do have some serious need. Vernon, Watts, Inglewood, Paramount, like all those places. That was my sales territory when I worked for IFM.
So, and this is the question that people ask me in our company. Like, why do we have to go to Mexico to go and build a house for a family?
Right.
And I'm like, well, the alternative is like, let's go to the most needy place in the States. Which would you rather? And they usually come back and say, I'd rather go to Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we stay in a really nice hotel on the ocean.
Okay.
It's very safe.
Well, it's a vacation more than it's a.
No.
It's 50-50 maybe.
Well, we're in a nice hotel.
It's a destination service opportunity.
But then we drive out in a 15-passenger van or a bus, and we
Yeah.
go onto the job site on the side of a hill,
10-4.
and we build a house.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
There's no cartel anywhere near.
Yeah.
But we,
As far as you're aware.
as far as we're aware, yeah.
Yeah.
We just we hire the cartel to protect us.
Yeah, exactly. I think I know. I think that's my like irrational, right?
Would you rather go with Nicole together, or would you be like, well, that's I'd rather have
Make
one
sure
of
our
us-
wills, totally up to date, right?
Would you
prior to the
rather say
trip.
one of us should stay just in case the other one dies?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't live in fear, right? You have to live from a place of abundance, not scarcity, right? And you have to say, hey, at the end of the day, God's got it. He's got my back,
Yeah.
right? I don't need to live in fear.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens,
But there's also wisdom.
right? Yeah, you're not going to go say God's got it and jump in the
All right, so
on
will
88.
you come to Mexico to build a home?
Who's asking? Are you asking?
I'm asking you.
When is this? When is it going?
Why does it matter?
If it was something where you've truly felt in your heart is a good thing, where you're doing good, and I could be of value and actually help, then I would go.
Oh, it's way more for you than it is for them. I could get somebody else who wants to go, and you don't really want to go. So why am I pushing you?
I think in my heart it would be probably a good thing for me to continue to step out of my own little
agree.
boundaries and grow in that sense.
This
Yes.
year, 2020,
2023.
At some point this year, I'm going to take you on a trip.
Okay. Then maybe I should get you on one in return.
To wherever the places.
We'll go to an industrial manufacturing facility.
Sounds great.
Yes, exactly.
All right, cool. This is good. That wasn't my goal in this, but I'm glad. I feel I'm so competitive.
I love it. I love it.
We're in.
You're a very good
What
persuader.
other fears do you have?
Yes.
Have you ever jumped out of an airplane?
No, but my wife has.
You can't just just.
I know. Isn't that nice?
Just say, my wife's amazing.
She is. She's fantastic.
Okay, so would you?
A jump out of an airplane?
Yeah, with a parachute.
Oh man, that would be rough. Now, like, am I? What's it called?
Tandem?
Tandem.
Yeah, you got someone on your back who's done it 1,000 times.
I don't know if can I watch him pack the parachute.
Sure. But you don't even know how to pack up. How would you know? You have to trust. You understand because you don't know how
That's
right
true.
way to pack a
But
parachute.
I want to see how intentional they are about doing it. I would want to make sure they're not like on their phone watching YouTube, like, oh, I love Seinfeld. Oh yeah, red, green, blue, whatever. You know?
See, this is me. I'm driving down.
Yes. Would you?
I'll tell you this quick story. I was driving from Milwaukee down to Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Many years back, and I just was driving along. My wife was out of town, and I saw the sign said "Learn to skydive," and I was like, I should just check that out. So I went in, and I was like, "So what's the deal?"
Just go over there.
I was on the way home from work one day, and I said, "What's the deal?" And they said, "Yeah, you can go. You can. We're actually going up right now." And I was like a tandem, like, and they're like, "How much does it cost?" They told me how much it cost. I was like, is there a cheaper way of doing it? And so I was in this negotiation, and they go, well, if you bring 10 people, we'll let you jump for free. And I'll go, all right, let me jump for free right now, and I'll bring 10 people this summer. And they're like, no. They're like, and I'm like, all right, I'll pay now. I'll bring 10 people this summer. And
give my money back.
I said, you give me my money back, and I jump twice for free. And I was like, that's a good deal.
That is a good deal.
And they're like, deal. And I was like, awesome. They go get in the plane right now. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I was in the negotiation mode.
Right.
And I found myself, and I was like, quickly, they put this jumpsuit on, and I'd been there for 15 minutes. That was it. I was on my way to my in-laws for dinner. And I quickly thought, I'll call my wife. And she goes, have you even prayed about this? I was like,
right.
Prayed about it? No. I mean,
no. I've only been here 15 minutes. I'm already on the plane. I got to tell you, I got to
please protect me.
Yeah.
You know, while I go and do something stupid and unthought through. And literally, I'm a 20-minute plane ride. I'm like up.
Yeah.
And I found myself jumping out of a plane.
You did?
On the way to dinner. Yeah, on the way to my in-laws to dinner. And I was like, they're like, sorry I'm late. I just jumped out of an airplane. And they're like, what?
Wow.
But anyway.
You were the most nervous right before getting out of the plane, yes?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, wow, this is like crazy. But it was wild. And I would do it again.
Did you go back then?
I took 10
with the group of 10. And then you jumped again?
I jumped again, yeah.
Wow. So 2 times you've jumped.
Yeah. But tandem. I mean, it's not as cool as it being solo and jumping out and controlling the whole thing. But it was pretty cool.
You're brave.
Except my shirt collar was like sticking out of the little suit, and it was whipping my face. I thought someone was like stabbing me with a knife the whole time. So I didn't enjoy the first free fall part.
I bet not.
But then the second time.
Wow.
So, all right.
You wore a short sleeve.
We're going to do a parachute jump together. Grant, we're going to do this.
That'd be rough.
But most likely, we're just going to do the Mexico thing.
Okay. Parachute, I would say I'm probably out, bro.
Okay. I don't want to do the parachute thing.
Let's do the iFly. You know, where you just like hover.
Yeah. You do that?
I would do that.
Anyway.
There's one off in Naperville.
Okay. Nicole and I are going to go do parachute jump.
You guys can parachute.
All right. This is cool. Yeah. I would definitely want to keep talking about this, but we'll talk over lunch. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Well done for courageous leadership and taking risks. What's one risk that you want to take for the benefit of the company this year?
We also, you might laugh. You may know what this is. You for sure don't know what this is. We are on Lotus Notes for our email service.
That is
old. And so we are moving everything this year. I've dubbed it the Great Migration to 365 and Microsoft Outlook. Wow. So it's a big undertaking to take our CRM and our email and move it all. So my goal for this year is to be completely migrated. The finish of the Great Migration. This by July 4th is my goal. Independence Day. Independence from Lotus Notes. So, and because our CRM is built on Lotus Notes too.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, it was a great platform. But so was Blockbuster to go get a video.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are moving forward. So my big jumping out of the plane moment for me, metaphorically. Oh, he's got his Blockbuster membership. This was totally unscripted, by the way. He
said Blockbuster under my...
This just naturally flowed.
I got something to tell you about that. I still carry my original Blockbuster card.
Now, why?
No,
why?
Keep going your story. You're being courageous. You're switching everything over. What's your biggest fear in it?
That it will totally slow down because we're speed is business at the speed of thought is my goal. How are we going to get to business at the speed of thought if the wheels come off the car? Right. So,
totally.
So this is a challenging undertaking.
Somebody's helping you, right?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, we have some fantastic people.
Okay, cool.
Helping us.
Well, We wish you well.
Thank you.
Journey.
And then we will find out why you have a Blockbuster business or your Blockbuster card still in your wallet.
Totally. I'll tell you over lunch. But I will, for our listeners, for our podcast people, by the way, click, like, share.
Wherever the
you can
like
go
is,
and find
click over there.
It's Enpro, ENPRO.com.
Enpro Inc.
EnproInc.com. Or on LinkedIn. He's a fascinating person. You will see him on one of our versions of our podcast later this year as we're building a home in Mexico. And you'll get to see his beautiful wife too. All right. Thanks for coming. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.